Hey friends, Chris Maholka here. Little departure today from the fishing videos, and I'm going to talk to you about life. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and I wanted to pass along a little bit of age knowledge maybe, or just a few things that I think are kind of interesting about the way we live. So what we're going to talk about is basically your brain, how it ages, and what you get from life and the knowledge that you put into your brain. On my cylinder here that represents a lifetime, you'll see I put some marks on it. And these are particular milestones you hit as you go through life, and we're going to talk about how those relate to the information you put in your brain during your lifetime. This first step is kind of an easy one for most people, and let me show you how this works. We're going to start out with putting some knowledge in. This first step represents from the time you're born all the way up to 5 to 6 years old. Now this stage for most people is getting your, what I call your junior street smarts. You're going to learn to deal with people, you're going to learn to eat, go to the bathroom, some social skills like what you can get away with and how to bargain with people. So these are kind of just cruise along through the first 5 to 6 years until you start school. This is the point where you start school. Now, if you go through your school age years, from 6 up to about 18 years old, this is where you get your rudimentary education. You're up through high school. 80% of people that get to this point will graduate high school. Now, everybody hopefully will live to this point, but graduating high school is a major event. Now, if you notice down here below 18, there's a red dot. That represents 16 years old. Now, why a dot rather than a timeline mark? Well, at 16, there's not much you can do. The only thing you can do is drive a car. However, you have to be alone or with family in the car, because if you have friends in the car, you might get distracted, and if you get distracted, all you can do is kill people and damage property. So, not a big milestone in life, but definitely worth marking. Unlike 16, at 18 you're considered an adult. You can do things like get married or join the military. Now, on the other hand, you can't, at 18, you can't drink, buy tobacco, own a gun, but you can get married or join the military. This brings us to our next step in my range. This is 18 to 25. Now, 18 to 25 years old doesn't seem like a very big space, but it's what I like to call my average screw-up period. Now, the reason we call it the average screw-up period is because at 18, you thought you knew everything and you were going to tell everybody that. And usually it meant your parents to start with. So from 18 to 25, you get to take all this knowledge you have and start applying it in the real world. You get to start looking for work, holding a job, or continuing with school. Also in that period, you get to figure out how to pay for stuff. How are you going to pay for your school? How are you going to pay for the things you need? And you also start thinking, what did I do and how did I get to this point? Maybe I don't know everything by the time you're 25 or so. The next step in our growth is kind of a small one years-wise. It's 25 to about 30. Now, why this is important is you've had now some real-world experience going on. You're working, you may be married, maybe you're thinking about starting a family, and you start to realize at 30 that, wow, maybe I don't know everything that I need to know. And you want to start learning more. Now, a new study has determined that at 30 is about where the human brain actually hits maturity. So all this time you're gathering information and you're learning, and your brain hits actual maturity at 30. This next step is a big one. This is a 10-year period. We're going to keep adding knowledge, and we're going to get to 40. Now, why this is important is because the space between 30 and 40, you'll realize that people you work with, friends around you, and people you know may start looking up to you and asking actually for advice that you actually have learned and you can share. If you actually had a family starting down here in your early 20s, by the time you get here, your family will start to be in their teens. You'll be having the "I want to drive" and "I know everything" kids in the house, and your argument will be, "Oh, no, you don't. I know everything. No, you don't." That takes us through the next stage. So now we're going to add 10 more years of knowledge to our brain here and take us up to the age of 50. Now 50 is a really difficult age, not because of health or anything like that, but because you usually realize somewhere in here that most of your life has gone past. This is why around 50 you have middle-age crisis. You go out and buy a sports car or take up exotic hobbies, things you think you need to know for your life, but you really probably don't. Also, when you're 50, you have all this knowledge behind you. So the people down here at 40 or 30, they'll start to realize something and tell you all about this great idea, and you can sit back here and just smile and go, "Yeah, I knew that." So 50 is a good age. But it's also when you realize that you don't have all that much time left. Now logic says as the years go by, it should all be linear. Every year should be the same. But once you get to this 50 point, the next period of time goes by really quick. And this is 50 to 65. It may seem like just a few years, but that 15 goes by and it seems like a day and a half. Now you start getting close to 65 and everybody says, "Oh, retire, take some time off, travel, do things." Now there are a couple ways to look at it. You can say, "Oh, I'm prepared and I'm ready and I'm going to retire and do all those wonderful things." If you're not at that point, probably should look back down lower on your timeline to the average screw-up period, to where you said, "What did I do and how did I get to this point?" That repeats at 65. And at this point, there's not as much time left as there was when you were 18 to 25 to do something about it. So now we've covered from birth through school to your working life and then all these years up to retirement. There's one thing I want to point out here that I think is kind of important, is back here at 18, when I was in school, we were given the right to vote at 18. Now that was cool because you got out of high school, you're starting to work and are advanced in school, and you get to vote. Now they're looking at dropping the age to 16. Remember 16? You can drive a car, but not with friends or anybody in it because you might hurt yourself or somebody else. You can't even buy tobacco or own a gun or do much of anything until you hit 18, yet 16 you're going to get the right to vote. And why do they want to drop it to there? Because people promise free things to them. And at this point, most people don't realize you have to start working and paying for the free things. So that's my little rant on 16. Let's go back up here to the top because I'm not finished yet with the lifespan. We still have from 65 up till the average, extended kind of average lifespan of 80 years old. So what do you get to do between 65? You get to continue learning. Your brain is still filling up. Now I work with seniors daily and I am a senior, so I kind of see this happening a lot. Is this space here gets taken up by more knowledge, hobbies, helping people, enjoying your family, and pretty soon it gets to the top. Now, what happens when your brain fills and you can't learn anymore? Well, the important things take precedence. You start enjoying your family more, and you save the things that you really enjoy. The trivial stuff, the worries and problems of the world just tend to go over the top and flow away. So if you're wondering why I'm telling you this, here's my take on the situation. When you've gone through all these things in your life and you get toward the end, the things that should be in here are the small things you put aside as you lived your life, and not the little trivial things. Your life should be full to the top with the things you care about, and all the small stuff that doesn't matter should be down here on the table. Hope you have a good life, and I hope I've helped you out a little bit, and thanks for watching.